That's correct? You did? So
Yes.
how much money
Yep.
did you raise?
I haven't spoken to the elder about that yet. It's the elder and I were the ones that were doing it. It had nothing to do with the Narragain themselves. It was between me and the elder and the Narragain peoples, who are the elders.
So you don't know how much money was raised. Was an interlocutory injunction actually put on the government, both state and federal?
No, not at this stage it wasn't, because people from other parts of the horse protecting fraternity tore it apart because they thought that they wanted to be in the limelight and they didn't want us to be there for the brumbies. They wanted to take, by them doing that, they wanted to take the limelight into their own selves to be the protectors and the saviours of the brumbies.
So how much money was actually raised? You don't know that? And what was it spent on?
Approximately around about $1,700, and it's still sitting in the trust account.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
I just wanted...
You've got some clarifying questions.
yes.
Mr. Benson.
Mr. Wilesmith, just in relation to the evidence that you've just provided, just thought I'd give you the opportunity to expand a little bit on some points. Is it fair to say that in relation to your position as a traditional custodian, that you are part of the Narragain, you've lived, worked and operated in the Kosciuszko National Park area, and that you view yourself as a custodian of the traditions of your people?
Yes,
And
I do, and I'm proud to be, and I'm not going to be answerable to anyone over it.
that's fair enough. In relation to your views in relation to brumbies, is it fair to say that there are different views between certain groups within the protection of brumbies collectively, as in some of those groups that seek to protect brumbies might disagree with other groups as to the methodology around how you would achieve that, but ultimately the goal is the same, that the support for an accurate number of the count of brumbies and the sustainable management of brumbies is at the forefront of all of those groups' positions.
From my perspective, yes, it is to an extent. From what I see from other brumby advocates, only to a certain degree.
So what we perhaps have seen today play out is some of those differences being ventilated, but ultimately the views of supporting brumbies is universal. It's perhaps a difference of opinion in how that is actioned. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's a fair assessment.
And where that is the case, is it fair to say that that putting the differences aside between all the disparate groups that are involved in seeking to protect brumbies in the national park, nothing that was ventilated this morning removes your position that you're a proud Narragain man that's grown up on country and has, for his entire life, worked with and understood the horses and brumbies in the national park, and that you're presenting a view that supports their at least a recount and the protection of those brumbies from aerial culling.
I think we
Absolutely, and my views will never change.
Okay. And even between...
My views will never change from...
Okay. And it's not uncommon for there to be different views between traditional elders in relation to the management of certain issues. And obviously this is one issue, but you can have different elders having different opinions. You can have different traditional custodians having different opinions on an issue. But you are recognised as a Narragaow man who has lived on country and has that experience. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly right. And I'm still part of the Narragaow Indigenous Corporation. And the email that Mr. Borsak was talking about, I don't know how it come into his hands, but it's come into it, and the person that's obviously fed that to him.
Mr. Wilesmith, we don't need to go into the details of that. I guess on a holistic approach, you are a Narragaow man who's presenting your views today as somebody that's lived on country
Yes.
and has those views. And the questions around your consultation are as relevant as they were when I asked them previously. Do you believe that that's a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
Thank you, Chair. I'm good.
Thank you. Is there questions from the
Just
government?
one question
Yeah.
from me. So you said, I think in your opening statement, that the presence of horses in the park reduces the risk of fire. Is that what you said?
Who am I talking to?
Sorry, Stephen Lawrence. I'm one of the committee members.
Oh, okay. So can you repeat that question again?
So
please?
did you say earlier in your evidence that the presence of these wild horses in the park reduces the risk of fire?
Yes, it can reduce the risk of fire, yes.
So do you have any evidence that you can point the committee to that supports that statement?
Well, I'm actually, I was a previous volunteer firefighter, and I've got experience in fighting wildfire, and I fought the Duns Road bushfire, and I've seen the knowledge and experience I've got with that is what I've seen and what I've lived with.
So you've got...
That.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. I thought you'd finished. Please continue.
No, you keep going.
So, sir, apart from your personal opinions based on your experiences, you can't point us to any other evidence of an expert nature or anything like that?
Well, I think you could look at the history of it and see back in the day when grazing was in the mountains. When the cattle and that were in the mountains, were we seeing such catastrophic wildfires that are near uncontrollable?
So
that we're seeing today.
So the number of horses in this area has quite dramatically increased since 2001. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, well that takes us to time. So thank you very much for your evidence that you gave today. If there was any questions that were taken on notice, or if the committee has any further questions, the Secretariat will be in contact with you about them. But thank you again for your time today and for giving your evidence today.
No worries. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.